Hello, my name's Judith and I'm ward manager on Ward 21 at Fairfield Hospital.
Hello, my name's Rachael Charlesworth and I'm one of the quality matrons for medicine at Fairfield. I actually thought the meeting went really well. It was a really useful way of Judith being able to showcase all the good practice and all the incidents and things that she'd found significant on her ward within the past sort of 2-3 years, and it was a good productive meeting, and I think it went really well.
Total trepidation. I was horrified when I heard about it, and it didn't help the fact that I was actually on holiday in St Anne's when I was speaking to another nurse who told me she wasn't going to re-register because of the thoughts of revalidation, and I thought, gosh, it must be dreadful, and I was just dreading it.
It was really useful. Once I got used to using the Clarity system, I found that I could, go in and out of the different areas. So looking at the complaints, compliments, Judith's evidence, Judith's reflections was really good, and I had a chance to read that before the meeting, so it made the meeting more streamlined, and gave us a chance to discuss some of the content and give feedback. It enabled me to give some really good feedback.
When you break it down and you look at it properly, it's quite easy actually. As I say, I was dreading it. I was proactive. I got advice on it from the trust, from the education centre initially, from Mandy McFeet, and we had a couple of meetings, and then when Jane Garforth became in post, I approached Jane and had a couple of meetings with her, and I found the process genuinely to be quite easy.
Easier than I thought I would. Once I was registered and I got used to using the system, it took me maybe an hour of playing with the system to get used to using it, but actually it's really simple, and I think it's definitely a good thing, and I think people will find it less daunting than they initially thought once they get used to it.
Normally, to re-register every 3 years, I would reflect on my practice, and I would look at certain feedback and incidents that's happened on the ward, and I would look at those and reflect on them. So in that respect, there was nothing any different. I was aware of the fact that I needed 5 pieces of feedback plus 5 reflective pieces, and I looked at we had a lovely letter, my team, just over 12 months ago on the ward, from a family where the mum had died on the ward. She was on the ward for 9 weeks, and it was the most beautiful letter, absolutely beautiful, which I presented at the trust board, and I had presented on a bereavement workshop at North Manchester. So I used this. I'd actually made a video of this letter with Kieran Simpson from the education centre prior to revalidation. So I was able to use that and link it with a reflective written piece. So that was an ideal example. I also used, I like to use a lot of volunteers on my ward. I find it very beneficial for patients and staff alike, and the volunteers themselves. I did a presentation at volunteers presentation evening at Middleton Arena last year, so I used that piece of work. I reflected on that and put that onto the Clarity system for revalidation, and I also looked at other feedback from other professionals on the ward, outside of the ward team, and used those and reflected on those pieces.
I did actually. Jane was really good and came to meet with me on a one-to-one, which, just 20 minutes on a one-to-one, going through what was expected of me and what I needed to expect from my staff was really useful, and she was available, and yeah, I got plenty of support. That wasn't a problem.
As I said, it seemed to intertwine the feedback and the reflection, because I like to reflect on any feedback I receive. So from that aspect, it was quite easy, really. I also reflected on how my team interact with me, how I interact with them, incidents on the ward, and I always continually reflect on my own practice anyway. So I found this process quite easy. Well, anybody who knows me knows that I'm a technophobe, really. Obviously I use computer in my job, but I prefer written work by and large. But the clarity system, whereas my first initial thoughts was, oh gosh, I'll never be able to work my way around this, is quite simple actually. And with help from Jane Garforth and Mandy McFeet, I find it easy to use, very easy to use, and it's in a very structured format. And when I went to my confirmer, Rachael Charlesworth, I found that it actually gave for a very structured meeting. I received lots of support from the revalidation team. I wouldn't be sat here now saying I'd revalidated but for their support. As I say, I was proactive because I was so concerned. I wanted to get it out of the way, if you will, as quickly as possible. So I approached the education centre at Fairfield initially, and I met with Mandy McFeet on a couple of occasions, who was very helpful. And then Jane came in post, and I approached Jane, and Jane's had a couple of one-to-one meetings with me on my ward. She's so amenable and accommodating. She came to my ward so that I didn't have to find time to leave the ward. We had a couple of very constructive meetings, and she helped me and showed me the way around the clarity system and discussed my feedback and reflections that I would be using. I can't praise the revalidation team enough. Not to worry. That's the main advice I would give. We often build things up to be bigger than they actually are, and we worry about things, and when it comes down to it, you think, was it really that bad? And no, it wasn't. I can speak very positively about this process. I don't want nurses to think, oh gosh, I can't be bothered revalidating, I won't renew my registration. It is so very, very simple, and the help is there for you. Just approach Jane Garforth and ask for that help, and she will help you step by step through the process. No problems. If I can do it, anybody can.